So have you ever sat back and wondered, or should I say, have you ever asked yourself this one particular question? See, I want to ask you this question. I really want to dig deep inside the mind of a podcaster because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to dig inside the mind of the existing podcasters. Now, we're not the podcasters that have all the major brand deals. We are the ones who are grinding every single day, right? So let me ask you this question, and this is real quick. Now, you're recording your episodes every single week. You're editing. You're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You're showing up consistently. You dropping all the value that you could possibly think of. You're building your audience, right? So if we're in agreement, this is not a webinar, so just give me a thumbs up or just, thumbs yourself up, all right? So that's cool. That's real cool, right? But let me ask you this. How much money is your podcast making you? Now, if you can sit here and answer that question and it says 0 or close to it, you're not alone. See, in fact, 90% of podcasters never seem to generate a single dollar from their show. But it's not because they don't have good content. It's not because they don't have listeners. It's not even because they don't have value to give. It's because they haven't reached that point that they understand. We're going to tap into that.
Welcome to Podcast for Profit, the show where podcasters become CEOs. I'm your host, Tony Porter, and every week I'm giving you the strategy, systems, and game you need to grow your audience, monetize your message, and build a 7-figure podcast business. No fluff, no cap, just real results. Let's get into it.
What's good, everyone? Hey, welcome back to Podcast for Profits, the show where we turn conversations into currency. Man, I'm your host, Mr. Tony Porter. Now, if this is your first time here, let me tell you what we're about. We don't do that fluffy podcast crap. It's not what we do. We definitely don't chase a variety of metrics. We don't teach you how to grow your audience and hope money shows up later. That's that BS that others seem to want to do. We're not here to be hood rich. We are here to turn these conversations into currency, and we are here to basically become wealthy. All right, this is what podcasting is for. Podcasting is a second income to most of us, and to some of y'all, you want it to be your major output. You want that time freedom, all right? So again, we take and teach you over here at Podcast for Profits how to turn your podcast into a client-generating machine, a revenue stream, a legacy asset that actually pays you. So today's episode is one of the most important ones I've recorded thus far. It's called The Number One Reason Most Podcasters Never Make a Dollar. And here's why that matters right now. And I know some of y'all sitting back saying, we're going to get into the money. Yeah, we're getting into the money. We have to get into the money. Because if you're sitting here and you're grinding and you go down here, you're spending all your money on tech and you don't have nothing to show for it. You can't scrounge up enough money to take your wife, your kids on a friendly vacation. You don't have enough money to pay for your schooling of your kids' activities like basketball, football. Maybe, you got a cheerleader in the bunch, gymnastics. Sometimes, man, they just need you. All right. And this is why this matters, because you need to be generating that bread. Now, you're out here grinding. You're recording. You're editing, you're promoting, and plus, man, you are doing the one thing most people stop doing after episode number 2. You showing up, and I know you tired. It's a grind, man. It is one of those situations where you are just grinding every single day, and you're wondering how. You're wondering when. You are sitting back with your fingers crossed, and you twiddling your thumbs, and you are wondering when this thing is going to pay off. Well, the answer to that all-important question is coming in this episode. By the time we're done, you're going to know the one mistake that's keeping you and your podcast broke. And we're going to show you how to fix it. Why most podcasters are treating the show like it's a hobby instead of a business. The exact shift that turns a podcast into a profitable machine. How to create an alpha ecosystem that converts listeners into paying customers. And then the magnetic messaging framework that makes people say, I need to work with this cat right here. All right. This is the game. No fluff, no holding back. Lock in, get you something to drink, and let's get this thing cracking, man. All right, let's go. Man, 2026 is our year. This is the short form podcasters, the people who are just getting started, coaches and creators who have a business and want to get some of this evergreen traffic. Understand this. This is where you need to be. We are the #1 podcast community that's teaching you how to podcast for a profit. See, everybody's teaching you how to start a podcast. We're going to teach you how to monetize your podcast. That's it. So if you're ready, let's rock out. Now, here's one thing you got to do before we even go any further. I appreciate you being here. So what I need you to do is do me a quick favor. You do me a quick favor, I'm going to do you a quick favor. If you go, or should I say when you go to the end of the podcast, if you stick around and listen, you got to stick around and listen. And to get these gems, you got to understand. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to leave us a review. Go on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even on YouTube, man, leave us a review. Once you leave us a review, click down in the description and grab that client generating podcast blueprint. It's free. It's packed full of everything that you're going to need to make sure that you either revamp or you start your podcast from the jump. So with that being said, let's make some money. Now, the #1 reason most podcasters never make a dollar. Let's think about that. Now, after we think about that, let's be straight. See, because that #1 reason most podcasters never get a dollar in their pocket from their show is because they don't have an offer. And that's basically it. You out here just talking. The one thing I see people doing, and there's nothing wrong with this, but the one thing I see people doing is they're selling themselves short. You are really selling yourself short. You got a Patreon, but you got some fire content. All right. Now, understand this. I'm not pointing the fingers. I'm trying to get you to understand your content, your voice, the people you bring on here, the people you bring on your show, that's worth more than a measly $5 because it costs you $7 plus to either go to Tropical Cafe or Starbucks. We just gonna call it how it is. See, you have no offer, so you have no revenue. So one thing you got to do is it's simple. You got to have that content. You got the listeners. You got engagement, but you don't have anything for your peoples to buy. Now, if you're a part of a podcast network and you're getting a share of the revenue, that's cool. That's great. Salute to you. I'm not trying to talk to you. I'm talking to the ones who are out here doing their thing and ain't getting no dollars. So what you have to do is you have to have an offer, man. You have to say, how do I get this bread? And see, a lot of people are coming to this game because they look at people like, and trust me, my pockets ain't large like that. So they're looking at people like Wallow and Gilly, $1 million worth of game. They're looking at the drink champs. They're looking at all the smoke. They're looking at 4th and 1. They're looking at Expeditiously Podcast. They're looking at the Beehive Podcast. They're looking at podcasters like David Sands, and they're looking at podcasters like Eric Thomas, and then they're looking at podcasters like Tim Ferriss and Pat Flynn. And then now my new favorite podcaster I've been following for about the last month, Brad Lee. What you're looking at is people who have established themselves to get these super brand deals, to get these super sponsors. They got millions of downloads. Now, I like Brad Lee because Brad Lee ain't giving a damn about what you think when he's talking. And what I mean by that is it's not that he's not paying attention to you. What I'm saying is this right here. Brad Lee is basically letting you know what he says. You can comment all you want. He's not paying attention to that. You don't know him. He don't know you. So why should your comments matter to him? And then and when I found Brad Lee, I was watching David Shane, and he basically was like, listen, I've had people that have made comments because I wanted to have somebody on my show. And to me, it's a conversation. We sit there, we chopping it up. And then what happened was he said, man, they left a comment. I didn't respond. They unfollowed. But then turn around 3 months later, they refollowed. So apparently I'm doing something right. And this is what Brad Lee was saying on that podcast episode. And it made so much sense. We get in tune with so many people liking us. Well, here's what people don't understand. You can like us or you can dislike us. But every time you make a comment, you just do nothing but help our engagement out. So we appreciate that. But most podcasters think like this. If I build the audience, the money will come. That sounds kind of familiar. It kind of sounds like that movie, The Field of Dreams. If we build it, they'll come. Well, guess what? It don't work like that in the podcast game. A lot of us tend to want to sit back and try to emulate what we see others is doing. All right. Now, I'm not saying when you have an interview process, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you sit there and you'll look at the Gilly and Wallow $1 million worth of game episode And then you turn around and your whole content is based off of that. Why? Look at it, get inspired, and go do you. All right? See, that's backwards though. Because if you sit there and you follow somebody, actually it's called plagiarism. So by you doing that, you don't understand, like, if they pick that up, like people do it all the time. Like people out here making Louis shirts. They out here making Gucci shirts. If Gucci come through and really want to fool with you, they gonna come and get you. Now, I'm not hating. What I'm saying is you got to be careful. All right? You got to be careful. Because, see, what a lot of people don't understand is I think it was Louis. Louis copyright infringed off Dapper Dan. Mr. Dan went and got his money back. Took him a while, but he got it back. So you have to understand this, man. See it, mimic it, but don't copy it. Don't steal it. But you got to be able to understand. If you have the audience and you have the content, but you have no offer, you have nothing to show for it. You're not going to get no bread. So, Daddy, we got that part down, Pat. That's the best part of it all. Because, see, when I first started in this game, when I was running with my homeboys and we was working for Def Jam, we wanted to be in front of the mic. Then it became a point that we wanted to be behind the mic because we was artists. But we were street reps for Def Jam. We used to meet up with all the popular artists back in the day. But then it got to the point we wanted to be our own people. We wanted to be businessmen. And I didn't learn the game the way I should have learned it. See, I made the mistake. I was at her creating the content. We was at her rapping, showing up, being visible, but we was broke. Fast forward, I still didn't learn the lesson when I got into the podcast game 8 years ago. I had people telling me, hey, man, your stuff is fire. Keep going. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. A lot of people don't understand how much I appreciate that, but I truly do appreciate that. And that's cool. Keep going. Don't pay the bills, though. Then one day, I came across David Sands. And I tell you something, man. When you have a person who has a magnetic message, and we're going to talk about that down the line a little bit. When you have somebody who has a magnetic message, here's what you got to understand. That message itself will have you sitting there like, damn, he's talking to me. I just happened to be watching The Hot Seat one day. He's giving it to these people, but the people don't have no answer. Like if you ask me, what is it I do? Man, listen, I help podcasters, coaches, and creators revamp or start their podcast to grow a non-existent income to probably $10K a month through podcasting. Man, your voice is your leverage. So I basically told you that your voice is your leverage, and this is how I help you. My one sentence statement, my mission statement is right there in front of you. But I didn't get the attention because I wasn't selling nothing at the time. I didn't know. That was my thing. I just didn't know about it. I didn't have that answer. So when I finally got the answer, when I finally realized, see, I thought the content back then was the product. I thought if I kept showing up, eventually somebody was going to say, man, I'm going to throw some money at you. I didn't know nothing about Discord. I didn't know nothing about Patreon back then. Listen, the platforms that I'm using now, I didn't know nothing about them. But here's what I had to understand. Your podcast is not your product. Your product is the marketing. The product is what you sell. And at the end, it comes at the end of the episode. So that's the one thing people didn't understand. And once I realized that, I was golden. So now it's like you got to get things out. So instead of me, and then another thing that I learned real quick before we move on, it's not about selling no more. A lot of people say, oh, you don't want to give away your best stuff for free. Man, check this out. That podcast, that client generating podcast blueprint, that bad boy fire. My homeboy, my youngster, he's not that much younger, but I call him my youngster because I'm the elder to him. I shot it to him. Hey, man, he come back to me and say, hey, bro, I don't know what you be doing at the crib. This fire. So his podcast is ready to jump off. I'm gonna have him on the episode one day, man, because I gotta get my guy on here, man. I gotta get my peoples back on here. We gotta build these legacies. All right. So let's talk about something else, man. Let's talk about another quick point. And this point right here is probably the second most important one on my list. Why most podcasters, treat the show like it's a hobby and not a business. Now, if we pull the curtain back and go deeper, there's gonna be a whole lot of people get pissed off at me. At this particular point, you need to understand. 2026, we can't keep sugarcoating. Have you seen what's going on out here? You got to have something that's going to help somebody. Because once you start out here being able to generate an income outside of this, because like my jobs is leaving, you got to have something to say. And the one thing I like about this is this, and I'm going to say this, 100% of the world is a mix, men and women, right? Did you know that 92.5% of all sales in the world today is generated by women? Did you know that? A, they look for the deals, but B, they smart thinkers. So what I want to do is eventually, sometime in the spring, because spring is when a lot of the flowers start to bloom, Eventually, I want to do just a single group setup with mommypreneurs. I'm talking about moms who are struggling at the crib, they at home, and listen, they got something they got to say. They could help somebody else either with the mommy duties, how they get around things. We just want to get them together, man. We're gonna do something. That's on the rise. But anyway, so you got to quit treating your podcast like it's a hobby and not instead of a business. And look, I get it. Podcasting is fun. Boy, do you not understand how much fun I have when I'm sitting around thinking about episodes to come up with, because it's about podcasting, right? See, I could teach you how to start a podcast. Like, go to Riverside, and when you go in there, you click here and you do. It's over on YouTube. See, podcasting is so fun and it's so creative, and it's a way for me to express myself. See, my voice is my leverage. I'm behind the mic. I pull that mic close to me like this. When I'm behind that mic, man, I'm so comfortable. I like to share my ideas. I like to see what people think. You know what I'm saying? And then if they thinking about it and they implement it and they start making money, I want to know. But if you want to get paid, you got to have a way to get it done. You got to approach it like an entrepreneur. So that means every episode has to have purpose. I mean, every episode moves someone closer to a decision. Every episode is designed to build authority. It's designed to build trust. And it's most definitely designed to build some revenue. So here's an example that you got to think about. Last year, while building this brand that I'm working on, my mind was wandering one day. And I decided to start a gourmet popcorn business. It's called Snap Crackle Gourmet. And I learned real quick, it don't matter how good your product is. If people don't know who you are, they ain't buying. And then you be thinking, well, why ain't nobody buying? Why should they? They don't know. And it's the same thing with podcasting. I was dropping episodes after episodes 7 and 8 years ago, and my streams was, at the time, it was kind of low. So you have to understand this and understand what I'm saying. You can drop the best content in the world, but if you never tell people what you do next or what to do next, if you never invite people into your paid experience, guess what? They just go keep consuming this shit for free. And then there you are stuck like Chuck. So remember, you got to understand, man, when you start to think, you got to have a mindset shift. See, I've been podcasting for a minute. I've been giving away a lot of game. Over time, I've been learning. See, I was following Pat Flynn. Boy, Pat Flynn's powerful. I ain't gonna lie. But sometimes you got to get comfortable. And in this day and age, it doesn't make a difference who you are. If you can't resonate with somebody, like I still bop out with Pat Flynn. I don't care what nobody say. Pat Flynn is dope. David Shands was like, I could feel it. I felt like he was talking to me. So when that happened, I said, okay, I got Pat over here. I'm following David over here. They're kind of saying the same thing, but they're not. They're different. Like, this is from my culture. This is from this culture. And what I did was I learned how to fuse both cultures together. And it works. It works perfectly. See, a lot of people don't understand how to do that because guess what? Everybody's afraid of what the next person is going to say. Here's what's funny. One of the guys in my personal business life is probably one of the biggest Republicans you could ever ask to. I ain't mad at him. What am I mad at him for? He's been a Republican ever since I've known him. But you got people that say, what are you messing with them for? You don't mess with the Republicans. Sometimes I don't want to mess with y'all because y'all do the most. Hey, let's go boycott. What are we boycotting for? We're gonna talk podcasts for profits. Let's talk about it. What are we boycotting for? We're gonna boycott because of DEI or DIE or whatever it was called. Let me see if I understand this correctly. Careful consideration, and after doing some research, I realized most of the companies that we was boycotting, they've been doing us this way before all of this got canceled out, before DEI or whatever it was even put into place. And we were still rocking out at them. Target, Walmart, all of them. Timberland, Moet, Belvedere. They ain't want nobody that look like me or look like you. And when I say you, I'm not talking about other blacks, because people who look like me, they're black. What I'm talking about is people who look like me in the demographic of middle class. They didn't want that. See, we got to stop looking at every issue. Some issues is warranted. You got to stop looking at every issue as if it's always black and white, because it's not. It's class. And I know you're like, what are you talking about? You're creating an offer. You can't just create an offer to sit and fit everybody. And that's how these other companies was looking at it. You have to create something that resonates in your niche in order for you to sell. But we get so tied into the fact that it's a Republican and a Democrat thing, or it's a black and it's a white thing. Only thing I want to see is greenbacks, green money. Or sometimes it's blue because them hundreds is blue with the magnetic strip going across it. That's what I want to see. So when you make your offer, you got to make an offer that resonates to your niche. So if you're a mommypreneur and you're teaching people how to get stuff done while your child is resting, create a mini course. It's just a simple framework of you teaching something that you already know how to do. And that's what podcasting is. You are teaching something that you already know how to do. And it's so simple because you don't have to go out here. You don't have to stress yourself out. You don't have to step out of your comfort zone. All right. And so when you do that, you do your podcast and you come through and you tell them, hey, I got something for you. Let me break it down to you. For $47, I'm going to teach you step by step how to be a mommypreneur at the crib. So if you could teach somebody how to make rugs, and because there's some dope people out here that's doing this. So working, let's say you at home and you got a brand new child and you're a mommypreneur, you stay at home and you want to teach people how to make rugs, but you got maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. Child goes, lays down. It's time for you to do your podcast. All right, you do your podcast. But at the end of the day, when everybody else is asleep, you design out this course that you want, this mini course that's going to teach moms how to get stuff done within 2 hours. And that means between the time that their child lays down and boom, there it is. The whole mindset has shifted. You have made yourself that much more of an authority figure. They want to go deeper with you. By the end of you in this course, now they want to get in her. Hey, can we set up a group thing and we need to break this down so we can, yeah. So that $47 can now turn into maybe $247. Any deeper that you want to go, it can become $1,000. It doesn't make a difference. But you got to have something that this mini course is the strategic piece of content that's going to make you that millionaire. All right. So just create and start offering it. See, for me, I have the client generating podcast blueprint because I want you to understand this is how we get in here. But what's inside of that podcast blueprint is in the description below because it's a lot and it's free. So now we got to talk about this because I told you earlier, we're going to talk about this magnetic messaging. Magnetic messaging. This is the framework. And this framework is for you to be selling something without being salesy. Now I know what some of y'all thinking. Tony, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to turn people off. And I feel you because I feel the same way every single time I create something. But here's the thing. You don't have to be salesy. You just got to be clear. And that's where your magnetic messaging framework comes in. This is the exact system I use. And the one I teach inside of all the programs to help the coaches, help the consultants, help the service providers, help podcasters create a client generating machine. So here's how it works. Step one, you got to identify one problem you solve, not 5, but 1. Every entrepreneur has one core problem. For me, I help coaches and consultants and service providers, podcasters, turn their podcast into a revenue stream. That's it, man. That's it. It's 1. Write that one problem down for your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? The person who's losing sleep over this. The thing that keeps them up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes if you're up, hit me up because I'm up. I'm always up working. The thing that pay to fix, they'll pay you to fix it for them. All right. Now, step number 2, teach them how to solve it. Now, this is for free. This game is free. This is the teach one thing rule. Every episode, you give away one actionable strategy, one framework, one shift. You don't hold back. Quit gatekeeping. Just teach. Why? Because you can teach people how to solve a problem. That's you're building your trust. You're proving to these folk out here, all right, that you are the go-to person. You're positioning yourself as the authority figure. And then when it's time to sell, they already done bought in. All right. So after you get all of this situated, you get everything done, you rocking back and forth and you bouncing, you having a darn good time because you know you creating something far, build your offer. And then at the end of each episode, you tell them this, hey, you created a natural bridge to offer them. Not a pitch, just a bridge. Because if you pitch, you like, hey, come on down to Carl Jr.'s Burgers and grab you one of them fat, juicy cheese burgers. No, that's pitching. All right. Now, the way that you do this is this way. You say, hey, yo, if today's episode helped you, imagine what you could do with a full system. I'll break down everything, the scripts, the frameworks, the step-by-step processes inside, and you giving them the whatever. All right. So that's how you do it. And then after you give them everything, all the meat and potatoes, you hit them with the CTA, which is the transfer trust CTA. So you're transferring trust to what you built during the episode into your offer. Now that you got to that point, now we get into step number 4. And step number 4 is simple. Use the proof to promise bridge. This is where you tie your story to that transformation. See, for me, I'm from the block, hustler, grew up. Moms didn't have no money, single mom, whatever. But see, I was actually right where you are right now. I was podcasting, showing up, grinding hard, man, no dollars. Then I figured out one thing. And within 90 days, I had my first 10K month. Now, this is an example that we're talking about, but this is how you approach it. But you got to have the right system. Now they're thinking, if I work with this person, if I work with her, if I work with him, it can work for me. The magnetic messaging is where it's at. This is how you sell without being salesy. So, and then you get to like things like pillar number 4. So you got to have how you create your offer ecosystem that converts listeners into clients. That's where it's at. So when you talk about this system, you got to be able to say, one good offer becomes one ecosystem. But how do you scale it? Well, let me give you the tiers to that. Because there's tiers. Hey, there's levels to this thing. All right. So you start out with a free magnet. That's your entry point, a free download. Checklist, mini training, blueprint, whatever. The client generating podcast blueprint is free. It's valuable. It gets you people into your world. I just told you. You understand what I'm saying? I just told you that. All right. But then I get into my low ticket. So my low ticket is probably somewhere between $27 and $97. And this is where you ask for your first micro comment, a mini course, a workshop. Why? Because once somebody pays you $47, $27, $97, that's their way, or they're way more likely to pay you jump into a coaching program with you. So when you talk about this $497, this is in that tier 3 level. This is the mid ticket alpha. Your $297 to your $997. Now, here's where this can become a tad bit confusing, because here's what a lot of people want to do. They want to charge $997, but they only want to give you $297 worth of product. No, don't work like that. See, this could be your program. This could be your core program. It could be a 6-week cohort. This could be where you deliver deeper transformations and build real better relationships. But this also is the lead into your high ticket offer. This is over the thousands. This is 1,000 and up. This is where you get the VIP service. This is where you kick it with them. This is where you are chopping it up once a week in the beginning of the week. And then you lead into the process of having midweek that they can reach out to you if they have any questions. And then at the end of the week, you tap in with them and say, hey, how'd it go this week? You want to be able to be that person. You want to work closely with people and change their life while you're changing your worth. So every episode should have one point that you offer. This the one problem you solve. Not all of them, just one. And then over time, you start building out your funnel. People start at the free level, work their way through the tripwire, and you get to that point where everything is super, super, super indulging, because you got to think about this. Now you went from free to the possibility of just say you got 10 people and they bought something for $27. That's $270, right? But then they added in, and let's say they added in, and we're going to say all 10 of them added in another $27. Do you not understand what just happened here? That 270 and another 270 has now become 540. So those 10 people have made you $540. Now, of course, there are some takeaways, ad spend and things like that, which is later on down the line. But that's $540 that you didn't have. So let's just say roughly about 10%. So $500. We're going to just say you got $500. You did great. And then last but not least, I want to say this is you got to make something like binge looping. You got to make something like Netflix, something like Prime, something like your streaming processes today. Keep them coming back. So eventually they'll buy. You got to have something out there that's going to make them say, I got to go back. I'm fiending for this. All right. This is the first time somebody listens to you. You got to make sure that they understand. Boom. You got to hit them with it. Hit them with the 1-2 real quick. Yeah, I did that because they're not ready to buy at that time. They don't know you. All right. But by the 5th time, by the 10th time, shit, they ready. Now you got their attention. Now you got their trust. Now they're ready. And this is why you need a binging loop. It's just 2 things, man. Reference past episodes that connects to today's topic and then tease them with the next episode moving forward. All right. So when we get into February, be looking for that because it's coming. So we're going to focus on that moving up to the next thing. So I know you, and you got to hit them with it like this. If you're wondering how to actually create your offer, go back and listen to episode number 8. I walked you through the whole framework. And then next week, we'll break it down how to sell on Instagram stories without feeling weird about it. You don't need to miss any of that. You don't want to miss any of that. All right. You just don't. All right. They start binging. They start going back. You're building a relationship with these folk. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Not what I'm doing. What you're supposed to be doing. All right. So at the end of your episode, just reference one past episode and then tease with one future episode. And see, this is where you become a business because now guess what you're doing? You got to go back to think about an episode and then you got to turn around and you got to already have another episode ready to go, a title at least. So that's and so now you at your mindset shift. This separates profitable podcasters from broke ones. So the one reason why podcasters never make $1 is because they don't have an offer. But the deeper reason, the root reason, they don't believe they deserve to be paid. That's the real talk. So you gotta change that mindset. All right. It's not expected yet. They don't want to seem greedy. That's the poverty mindset. It's where they're stuck at. You got to get out of that mindset and everything will be straight. All right. So if you're saving somebody time, money, and stress, it's worth your time to get paid. And you start charging something crazy, people take you more seriously. All right. Now they get better results. They show up differently because free advice, people ignore. Paid coaching, paid courses, paid programs, they implement. So stop playing small and stop undervaluing, wisdom. Stop waiting for permission to charge. You got the knowledge, you got the experience, you got the stories. Now create the offer. Put it out there and watch what happens. So I told you, the number one reason why podcasters don't make no money is because they don't have no offer. But the number one reason you're about to change that, you just commit to creating one. That's it. You got an offer? Create one. It's the mic drop moment, man. That's what we want. Yo, if you made it this far, I applaud you. I know I rocked out with you for a minute. So you know I'm not playing no games. You know to turn your podcast into profit, this is what we do. So the first step is grab the client generated podcast blueprint. That's what you need to do. It's free. It's got everything in there, plus the template scripts, step-by-step frameworks. The link will be down in the show notes below. Second, if you're not already, in the Podcast for Profits community, check this out. We revamped it, so I'm going to leave the link in the description. Get over there, and let's start building a community. Now, you might get over there because we just restructured it, and you might be like, ain't nobody here. Don't worry. We're going to get them in there, all right? So that's all I got for you today, man. All in, it works. You got to go all in because it works. We got coaching programs, that's down the line. We got workshops, we're going to definitely drop one because the money's in the list, and that's one of the workshops that we need to get you into, all right? We got a whole ecosystem, but start with the blueprint. That's your next step. So, all right, that's it for me. I appreciate you stopping by. Again, leave us a review over on Spotify, Apple Music, even on YouTube, and understand that the number one reason podcasters never make $1, they don't have an offer. But you're about to change that. Create your offer. Make it simple, make it valuable, and start putting it in front of your people. The Client Generated Podcast, the link will be in the description below. Man, it's your man Tony over here, Podcast for Profits, man. I appreciate y'all stopping by. This is where we turn conversations into currency. Now, get up off your ass and go monetize your message, man. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast for Profit. If you got value today, share this episode with a creator who's ready to level up. And make sure you hit follow so you never miss the moves we're making. If you're serious about turning your podcast into a business, tap the link in the show notes to join the Solo Empire Network and get the tools, coaching, and community you need. I'll see you in the next episode. Keep going.